Back to our winds, and let's get a zoomed in look on exactly what we're seeing right now. Here's the new warning. All right, can we bring it out full screen so I can move around a little bit and show what we're talking about? Here, thank you so much. All right, so see this box right here? That's that new warning, all right? It's a pretty big one. This is the rotation that we're looking at right here, somewhere inside of there. As Rob mentioned, it's a little close to the radar site in Tallahassee. That makes it a little bit complicated to see what's going on, but it looks like some rotation would be right here. Once again, this is not an observed tornado, but it is a radar indicated tornado, meaning one could touch down at any time. So if we're in Tallahassee, now's the time. You hear one of the buzzing right now from my phone, unfortunately. If you're in Tallahassee, especially that northwest side, now's your time to go ahead and head inside, away from windows. If you know anyone on the roadways, go ahead and tell them to pull off. If they're heading, let's say, due west on I-10 right now, trying to move out of Tallahassee into Midway. All right, here's our apparent rotation. Right now, we're watching and we're monitoring. Okay, we're inside our safe spots. If we're in Tallahassee, especially on that northwest side, the rotation right now, not too impressive, which is good news, but this could start to spin up a whole lot more. So we're definitely on guard right now. Let's zoom in and kind of see how this is all moving. You can see moving towards the north and towards the east. All right, still trying to dial in exactly where that rotation is going to be. I'll pull up a circle here for you so you get an idea of my thinking with this. We'll get this in the now. Right around this area, Rob, you can tell me if you agree with me here or that one a little bit further to the north on what they're exactly looking at here with that rotation.
You know, being so close to the radar tower is probably giving a little difficulty trying to spot it, but the radar is certainly indicating something, so that's why we're locking in on it right now. Maybe not the most significant looking rotation, but you never play around when you have any kind of rotation like this. So, yeah, it feels like we're talking maybe not too far from Florida State, is where it kind of looks like right now, near the airport over there. Yeah, so I might have a little different zoom in over here, kind of dialed up, and it's going to be the same thing, right, where we're trying to watch an area where it's hard to see based on what the radar is going to show us. And if you do look, you know, there have been way stronger looking ones or way more significant looking ones in the past, all right, but you just can't mess around when you have possible rotation indicated, especially when you're talking about some of the more popular and more populated areas of Leon County. So we're like south of I-10 down towards Florida State and the state capitol. So that's going to be the area where this one looks like it's headed, if it indeed is rotating. And remember, sometimes the rotation is indicated by the radar doesn't mean it's actually a tornado reaching the ground. It means there could be some rotation upstairs, but there are still strong wind gusts. There are still dangerous factors in play, and that's what we're going to continue to watch as we see this area work its way from west to east through, and it's moving fairly quickly, right? 30, 40, 50 miles per hour is really hauling. So in, out, done the next 10 minutes or so. If you are in the city of Tallahassee, if you are maybe east of Fort Braden, south of I-10 in that spot in Leon County, in southern Leon County, now is the time where you want to make sure you're away from windows and exterior walls, and you want to make sure you're in that safe place, the lowest level of your home. You certainly don't want to be on the roads right now, so hopefully you're not on the roads right now and you don't know anyone that is, because you want to make sure you're away from that. Where we see some of those brightest whites to the north, not sure that that's what we're talking about up there, but maybe as you're starting to approach Capitol Circle on that far western side over there near Annan Church Road, maybe that's the area right now where there could be some potential circulation, and that's why with that rotation is going to be where we're watching at least in the next few minutes, and we'll see how long that holds together. Further south from there and across into parts of Franklin and Wakulla County, we're certainly seeing a whole bunch of lightning and still the potential for some more rotation there, but I think the bigger story is going to be, is there actually some rotation that's making it down from the clouds through parts of southern Leon County? The radar is certainly picking it up, so we're not going to mess around with that. And that's why the tornado warning is issued for there, and it's going to be in case for the next half hour or so. So that warning is still going to be something that we continue to deal with. At this point, the radar is going to be the best indicator, but it's hard when you take a look at the radar simply because the radar is so close to the actual tower itself, and sometimes it gets masked by what's going on. So you end up with a picture like this, and you see that little ring around the actual radar itself that has nothing. That's because that's where the beam is going to pick up that information. So as we do look around over here, and we continue to watch and see what's coming, even if we zoom out, it's not the most clear looking thing, but it's certainly enough where maybe along Highway 90, north of Jackson Bluff Road, maybe some areas like over there. That could be where that rotation is. But I think the story here is play it safe anywhere south of I-10 near the city of Tallahassee, especially on the west side. That's where you want to make sure you get indoors and you get away from any exterior walls, and you want to make sure you're in your safe place. So those are going to be the areas, at least for the next few minutes, where you're going to want to get away from whatever's coming your way. And that is going to be especially south, maybe near the airport, near Florida State's campus, near FAMU's campus, maybe even near towards downtown as it works its way in the next few minutes. So we have lots that we'll be watching with this developing possible tornado. The rotation indicated on the radar is enough to raise all the sirens, and that's why we've got the warnings. That's why the phones are doing what they're doing, and we'll certainly be watching this very, very carefully. With each scan as it comes by, we're hoping to see a little less color and a little bit less excitement with it, because that would indicate that maybe things aren't as strong as they were at one point. Still very difficult to pick this out, and a lot of that has to do with its sheer proximity to the actual radar tower itself. Do we have any cameras, guys, in the back? Do we have any cameras that are downtown that maybe we could see? Yeah, let's send it to Josh, and let's see if we can find maybe one of the cameras, maybe some of the WeatherStem cameras or something like that. We'll get a better look at it, guys.
Right, yeah. We'll be able to look outside there in Tallahassee. Before we do that, though, I want to update you on the other tornado warning that we have. This one is going to be in place for Wakulla County. Don't worry, we're still watching you. If you're in Crawfordville, now's your time. Get in that interior room, like Rob mentioned, away from windows and exterior walls. This is, once again, our storm relative velocities. They show us winds, exactly their direction. If you see the greens, the winds are moving towards the radar site at the airport in Tallahassee. The reds are moving away. So when you see a spot like that right there, that tells us that the winds are rotating around each other a little bit, and that's why that tornado warning is in place. Similar to the one that's in Leon County right now, it's not an observed tornado, all right? We just have the rotation. And speaking of Tallahassee, once again, we checked in on Wakulla County. We're still inside, we're in that polygon area, especially if we're in Crawfordville, in spots just to the north and to the west of Crawfordville. As we get a little bit closer to 319 there, we are still inside, away from windows and away from exterior walls as well. We do have now a WeatherStem cam. This one is going to be in Tallahassee. Rob's here with me. Where are we looking right here? Where's this one looking? It's hard to tell. Lots of rain.
That's at FSU. That's at FSU. It's the recreation complex. And you can see the rain. Going to be really hard to see anything else other than that. But that's not too far from that area. I mean, if you're talking about near the radar tower on that west side, on the other side of Capitol Circle, that is sort of in that area where maybe that rotation is coming from. So we'll certainly be watching here on the radar, see if we see anything. We see the trees for sure blowing in the foreground there, and some heavy rain coming down. Yeah, I mean, it almost looks like, just looking at the velocities and kind of juxtaposing it here with what I'm looking on the screen, maybe this is where we're looking at with the cameras a little far south, and maybe a little bit more to the north is where that rotation could possibly be. So really one of those setups where there's so many things going on, it's a lot of moving parts,
right.
but anytime that there's an indication of any kind of rotation, you never mess around with it. And of course, we're not going to. That's why we're going to stay here with you and let you know what's going on and what's coming our way. We got a downtown camera. Let's take a look at that, and maybe that will have a little better view for us, because whatever's going across Leon County is heading towards downtown, as a matter of fact, and you can certainly see the rain coming down in sheets, by the way. Wow.
And of course, we talk about these tornado warnings, obviously the highest of importance, but really the big story and what most of us will see is not the tornadoes, but those winds causing problems out there, limbs down, power outages, and yeah, I mean, you can see it right there. It paints the picture.
Yeah, heavy rain coming down, and it's wind-driven rain, which makes it even more difficult to sort of contend with. And, you know, we were talking about the line itself as it's making its progress from west to east at about 40, 45 miles per hour. Okay, so that line itself is now into Tallahassee proper, and it's into Cairo. So the next 15, 20 minutes is when it's going to be the busiest in these areas, and then it'll be done in those areas, and it's going to move a little bit more east. So that means Thomasville real soon. It means Monticello real soon. It means Perry and Madison and Valdosta probably have another half hour, 45 minutes before the heavy stuff gets to where you are. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that for you too. So there's a lot going on out there, and right now we'd call this game time, because this is where all the activity is, and for sure that current tornado warning that is in Leon County right now, that's set to expire in, 15 more minutes or 20 more minutes from now? We'll see how long it holds together. Really difficult to pick up any of those rotations, but for sure, You never mess around with something like this. So anything south of I-10, especially near the campuses, near downtown, you're going to want to make sure that you're away from exterior windows and walls. You want to get to the lowest floor. You want to make sure you're not way up high in any one of those bigger buildings downtown if you can avoid that, because the higher up, that's the most at risk when there is some sort of strong wind or rotation in that area. Now, as far as the actual setup here goes, it's really not the most clear to see, but that doesn't mean it's not there. It just means it's hard to see. And, you know, even during the day, you think, oh, well, it's, you know, it's light out. You can see a funnel cloud. You can see a tornado. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's wrapped in the rain, and it gets really, really hard to see.
That is, it's a big difference between down here and, say, spots like, you know, like Iowa, where you see these clear videos of big tornadoes. It doesn't exactly happen like that here because these are all rain wrapped, all right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And when these lines get to you, we suggest you get inside anyways, because what we've noticed today and what normally happens, these tornadoes, they spin up pretty quick. Maybe they're not huge ones,
right,
and they don't last very long, but they come out of nowhere. They're not as easy to kind of see moving towards you.
For sure. And especially in a situation like this, you just can't mess around. And one of the things to keep in mind is it's moving quickly. So even if it is near where you are, it should get away from where you are just as quick as it arrived. So it's not going to last a long time. It's not going to be a prolonged hours of multiple tornadoes, those kind of things in the same location. However, it's still a dangerous situation that we are dealing with. And I think for at least a little while, we've got to stay real focused, hyper-focused on what we see in southern parts of Leon County. It's definitely more in southern parts of Leon County. Hey, we got another weather stem to take a look at. Let's do it. More of the heavy rain coming, and you can see not just the water droplets on the lens right there, but you can see it kind of sort of washing away in sheets across the camera. So that's telling you there's a whole bunch. Which location is this weather stem, by the way? This is northeast Tallahassee. Okay, so definitely away from where that potential rotation is. Like I said, once you get north of I-10, I don't think the rotation is the threat. I think the wind and the rain is the threat. It's south of I-10. Now it almost feels like it's east of the airport. Now it almost feels like it's east of the campuses, maybe going over towards Southwood or someplace in that area on the other side of Capitol Circle. That looks like where it's a little bit closer to where, if there's rotation, where it would be at this point. So that seems to be one of the locations right now that I'd be most concerned with, and I want to make sure that I'm off the roads. I want to make sure that I'm downstairs. I want to make sure I'm away from exterior windows, doors, walls, all that stuff, and wait it out for another 5 or 10 minutes, and then they'll be moving on. That also means areas into parts of south and western Jefferson County, especially along Mahan Drive, especially south of there, especially along Highway 90, Appalachian Parkway. When you get into Jefferson County, that's going to be where the strongest and the worst of it seems to be headed. So that's going to be an area I'd be a little extra concerned with for the next 10 or 15 minutes.
Right, and you notice these tornado warnings, they kind of shaved off the box. That normally is what happens. You see now it includes maybe more so the eastern half of Tallahassee. It's starting to shave off the western half because where we were looking at that rotation, somewhere in and around this area, broad may be it be, is now starting to move further towards the north and towards the east.
And you can hear the rain really coming down at the TV station. Now, we're located right there at the I-10 flyover. So we're like right in the middle of Tallahassee. Power just went out in the building as I'm talking about it. We're good. We got generator. We got backup power here in the studio. We're going to be just fine. But I'm sure a lot of folks are without power at this hour, especially through parts of Wakulla and Leon and Grady and Decatur counties. And that's going to have a lot to do with what's been going on with these very strong winds and these very dangerous tornado possibilities. So that's where we are, and you can absolutely hear it. That's some really ungodly noise coming on.
Yeah, it was. That'd be the generator.
Yeah, that'd be the generator kicking on. So for sure, it happens here too. We just happen to have a really big, powerful generator that keeps us on so we can stay here with you guys. Hopefully you're able to see us on TV. If you're not, you're picking us up. We got the Facebook feed going. We've got it going on all other places. So share it, like it, send it to your friends, let everyone know that we keep everybody together here together.
Yeah, that's the good news. As this line continues to progress, and like I said, if more warnings start to pop up and we say, yeah, now's your time to head away from windows, and if you're in the living room, take out your phone or just turn up your TV, and we're going to still be here. Don't worry, our power, it does stay on. And like I said, we got the 2 active tornado warnings. We've been talking a whole lot about the Leon County, Tallahassee one. I want to check in with our friends in Wakulla County just to give you an idea of what's happening here. This tornado warning itself is still set to expire. At 11 a.m. So actually,
any minute now, and that one hasn't looked anywhere near as strong as some of the other ones have for the last little while. So that's good news, and you know. The good news with all of these is they don't last super long. We want them to fizzle out and move on, and they likely should. Looking at those velocities down near the coast, and again, it's hard to pick up the velocities there because you don't have the best coverage, but it doesn't look like it's a whole lot of them.
Yeah, really, for the most part, you see all those bright blues. What is that? Well, those are just really gusty winds, all right? We're not seeing them rotate around each other. That means that, we're not seeing a whole lot that tells us there could be a tornado on the ground. And once again, the good news is that tornado warning did expire. So, Wakulla County, you're good. You're in the clear for now. Now, the only warning that we have up in terms of tornado warnings is going to be that one still in Leon County.
And that one goes to 11:15, if I remember right.
Yes.
So we got 15 more minutes with that one. I don't see any new ones popping up, which is good. Hopefully,
we did just have a new one pop up.
And there you go.
Yeah.
See, I took my glasses off for a second.
Like we said, these will just pop up in and along that line as they continue to work eastward. Here's the new one, right?
It's the extension of the one from Leon County that's going to put it into parts of Jefferson County. And that's to be expected, right? Because that's where this individual cell is moving. So as it moves in that direction from west to east and fairly quickly, 40, 50, 60 miles per hour at times, then it's going to continue to just sort of translate into eastern areas from where we are. So, yeah, all right, makes perfect sense that we extended that warning into parts of Jefferson County.
Right, okay, so this is going to be that same cell that's now going to slowly start to move out of Wakulla County. Spots like Woodville, you're now going to be in this southern half of Leon County, especially that southeastern half. Now is going to be your time. Yeah, let's get away from the windows, let's get into that interior room. We're either going to turn up the TV or we can hop on Facebook. We're there too. You can watch on your phone.
For sure. And you see, so the area you had circled there is the Highway 319 corridor, right? So from Crawfordville into Wakulla County, out of Wakulla County into Leon County, that's going to be the area right now that's getting the lion's share of the wind and the rain. Now, in 5 or 10 minutes, it's going to be east of Highway 319, and that area is going to be on the backside where things are calming down considerably. Same with Tallahassee proper. Right now, the big rain is coming down right through the middle of Tallahassee. Give it a few minutes, and that's going to work its way across the area, and it'll be moving more towards far eastern parts of Leon County and into far westerns of Jefferson County. So yes, there'll be heavy rains moving across the region. Yes, it's going to rain like it's serious where you are, but only for a few minutes, and then it moves into the next location. And once you get past that initial jolt of the real heavy stuff, it is significantly weaker, and the farther away it gets, the weaker it gets. We've got spots now. Mariana this morning was a super busy area. Now it's all done. We've got areas like into Quincy, which not too long ago we were on the air. We're talking about the rotation that was near Quincy. Now that's probably fizzling out quite a bit, and in the next 10 or 15 minutes, it'll be done raining there too.
Right, yeah, what happens is you get the worst of it, right? The winds get picked up real bad, just like they did in Tallahassee. There's really heavy rain, a lot of lightning. Once that passes, what's going to happen is, yeah, you're still going to have some rain out there. You might have to give it another couple hours, but the good news is that threat for severe weather, those tornadoes and those real damaging wind gusts.
We're going to do the weather summit. Holy comfort, let's do it. Put my glasses back on to see this one. All right, so yeah, the rain coming down. I mean, it's a mean-looking sky outside for sure. You can see those trees really waffling in the background there. I don't see a lot of lightning. That's encouraging, and I certainly don't see anything more treacherous, just a wind-driven rain that we're experiencing in so many areas. And this is going to be what continues as we watch and see with these systems as they work their way across the area. All right, so now as we take a look into northern parts of Leon County, by the way, and just take a look at the velocities and zoom in a little bit here. You get across I-10, you start to get up Thomasville Road, and while there's maybe not a lot of rotation present on the velocities, it certainly looks like maybe some real heavy wind right there and some real heavy rain coming down right there.
Yeah, spots like Killearn up through Bradfordville, this is going to be your worst of it, right? The brighter those colors get, that's the gustier the winds are. And of course, the red ones, that means they're moving away from that radar site at the Tallahassee airport. Right. And those green colors, those are ones that are moving towards the radar, right? And we see those interact and spin. That's what kind of perks our ears up, and we start to look and see, okay, if there's rotation, is there a potential tornado on the ground? For now, we've got the warning, but it looks promising at this point.
And what we're not seeing is we're not seeing red and green right next to each other.
Yeah.
When you see those two like up against each other, that's usually a really strong indicator that there could be some rotation there. So I don't see that in northern parts of Leon County right now. We still do have that tornado warning for a little while longer. And of course, they extended the warning into more Jefferson County as to be expected. I would be surprised if they don't extend that severe thunderstorm warning into more areas across Jefferson County, in towards Madison County and Taylor County and into Brooks and Lowndes. I would expect that it's going to get extended there because even if there's no rotation, those wind gusts that could be over 50 or 60 or even 70 miles per hour. We're talking near hurricane strength wind gusts.
Yeah, it's no joke. I mean, it's definitely enough. We know the trees down here, they go down like that.
And so does the power.
This is certainly enough wind, and I know a lot of us going to be without power, and a lot of us not going to be able to get on the roadways out there for at least a little bit. So today is going to be a big patience game and kind of wait inside, wait for things to clear up.
And even when it does calm down, and it will in a couple hours in a lot of spots, or even sooner than that in a few, it's going to be a good idea just to stay inside. Don't be in a hurry to go out and go exploring.
Right.
Let the crews get out there to do what they have to do. Let the road stay clear for the emergency service vehicles to do what they have to do. It's a good day just to stay where you are and let the day kind of pass by, and let the rain kind of pass by, and get ready for the cold.
Right, you wake up tomorrow morning, you're going to be like, what, there was a storm yesterday? Because it's going to be blue, it's going to be cold.
And it's going to be January. It's going to be the middle of January tomorrow. So a totally different look and feel. But we've got to get past the next little while first. And the more I watch each radar cycle here, you can see how the rains in some of our western areas are just so much less now than they were a little while ago. And that even goes for inside Tallahassee, where the heaviest rains are now moving across the Highway 319 corridor and continuing to push a little bit more towards the east. And that means it's going to continue working in that direction. Thomasville, we haven't seen the worst of it yet. It's coming. As a matter of fact, the next couple of minutes, I think Thomasville is going to be getting some of the real significant rain that we've been seeing from near Cairo in the last 15 minutes. And that also means areas on Highway 19 all the way down to Monticello. That's where the rain is coming next. So based on where you are, you can estimate what's coming next just based on how fast it's been moving. It's moving so fast. So we're talking 10, 15 minutes of the worst of it, and then it moves on to someplace else.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And like we said, ahead of that line, it's going to get real gusty. There's going to be continuous severe thunderstorm warnings that keep popping up out ahead of it. So we're not going to try to clutter our radar here and show you those. The two things that we're still focused on, we've still got 2 tornado warnings up. If you're watching us, don't worry. We're watching those really closely. And the good news is they just look promising at this point, right? That's why we're not hyper-focused on it. We look, and what do we look at? Well, we like to see what the winds are doing. And of course, we've got the 2 different warnings. We'll go check back in for you. Let's look at this south one real quick.
That one that was even further south looks like it's about done. That looks like the one that was the one in southern Leon, and now there's another one in northern Leon. So those are the 2. The one that was more Wakulla looks like it's all done, and it was supposed to expire at 11 o'clock, so that's good. We'll see the next one hopefully expire at 11:15, and then that one that's a little further to the east will be the one that hangs on the longest.
Right, yeah, not too much to see here. Trust me, we're not seeing anything that you aren't right now. If we did, we'd be pointing out to you. What we are seeing, though, are those real bright colors, and that tells us that the winds are going to be real gusty out there, especially down by the coast. So if you are just to the east of Crawfordville there in Wakulla County, now is when you're really getting the worst of it. And we're watching the 2 tornado warnings, and we're watching the big picture here just as this line continues to march across our area.
I'm going to be real curious to see some areas along the coast with those strong southerly winds all day to see how much water has pushed its way up on shore, because, you know, when you get hours and hours, by the way, of southerly winds, 20 to 30 miles per hour, it may not seem like it's too bad, right? But that's enough to push that water up against the coast. So if it gets 2, 3, 4 feet above normal tide, you can certainly have some flooding concerns right along the immediate coast.
Right, yeah, it's like the same thing. We talk about storm surge when a tropical system comes through. It's just winds out of the south, and that's what caused it. I've spoken to a few people that live down the coast that were a little concerned about it, and rightfully so. It's going to be a couple feet of water, but once again, those winds, they're going to start to shift, all right? Once that storm gets past you, once that big line gets past you, if you're down by the coast, all of a sudden those winds won't be out of the south anymore. They're going to be out of the west and then eventually out of the north, and that water is going to say goodbye.
Yep, exactly. And we've got a few minutes left. It's 11:08, so we've got about 7 minutes left of that for that next tornado warning, hopefully to let expire, and then we're going to see if anything else pops up. Still watching that line of showers up on Highway 84 between Cairo and Thomasville, where it's been pretty significant rain for the last little while, but no rotation there, and that's always good news to report. The more we get rain, the less we get rotation, the happier we are. I still see plenty of lightning strikes across the region, and there's definitely gusty winds all over the place. We're finally starting to get wet on Highway 84 when you get over towards Quitman and Valdosta on I-75, even up through Adel. We've got some decent showers way up Highway 319 near Moultrie, so we are absolutely seeing more and more of the rain spread into more areas, but it also looks like it's maybe a little less concentrated than it was when it was a thinner line of more intense rain. It almost feels like over the past little while, at least looking at the radar here, where it may be a little less intense and a little bit more spread out. Sometimes these things do start to spread out as that instability sort of just finds a way to rob itself of its momentum, and we end up seeing the showers do a little fizzling, and that'd be great news if that were be the way way it continues.
Yeah, that's right. And we've still about halfway through this thing, right? It's a little past 11 o'clock now. We can go ahead and time things out for you real quickly, while we're here. Get a quick check on one of these futurecasts just to see what's going on. This one paints a pretty good picture. It's a little too far behind, but say we get to around the noon hour, and that's when spots like east of Thomasville and down to the south into Jefferson County, that's where we're watching you. And once again, once you get behind this thing, like how Thomasville and Tallahassee will be a little bit past lunch hour, things are good to go. Still going to rain, but we say goodbye to the severe threat. Once we get to around, say, 1 p.m., 12 to 1 p.m., that's when spots like Valdosta down through Perry will be really watching for you, including Madison County up through Adel. And then eventually we get to around the 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. hour. That's when it's focused primarily for our eastern counties, spots all the way from Clinch and Eccles down through Hamilton, Suwannee, and Lafayette. And then watch this, get to around probably say 3 o'clock, and we'll say goodbye to that severe weather threat. Still got a few showers left to go. Give those a couple hours, and then those are good.
And we'll be amazed at how quickly those wraparound leftover showers start to fizzle out as those breezes start to turn and the drier air starts to come on in. You can see way on the left-hand side of that radar screen, by the way, there are some light showers way out there. That's that leftover stuff behind it, and that'll sort of get chewed up as it moves more to the east. I know some people were asking, they were looking at their weather applications on their phone and like, hey, it looks like it's going to fizzle. The thing that was fizzling would be those showers behind the main line. The main line itself was no joke and was going to make its way all the way across the area, and that's what it's doing. But it is moving from west to east at about 45 miles per hour, maybe even a little faster than that. So, I mean, it's seriously hauling. It may have taken a little bit longer than we wanted to see it to get here, but now that it's here, it comes and goes quickly, and as long as it continues to do what it's doing, I think we're going to be waving goodbye to this before you know it. Now, we're still watching those 2 current warnings right now, and I see another big marine warning out there with maybe a little bit more energy, and I do see it south of Franklin County, a whole lot of lightning. It almost looks like that line of storms is bowing a little tiny bit, so another one of those things that we look for. When we start to see that line of showers bend a little bit, that might indicate maybe a little inflow someplace.
Yeah, and especially when they move over the bay, I mean, there's a little bit more energy over the water, right? So some of these storms, they could pick up a little bit, and these are the ones that we watch, especially as they head to the other side of the Big Bend. Once we get into Taylor County, you can kind of see if there's any water spouts that pop up over the water and see how those carry over once they get onto the land.
So real things to keep watching. I know there's going to be some spots that we wiping our brows and going, phew, we're done. But there'll be other spots that are still waiting for the worst of it to get there. And sometimes the waiting's the hard part, right? Because you see what's been going on west of where you are, and you're sort of waiting for it to get to you, hoping it's not going to be as bad as it was maybe in some other spots where you saw these tornado warnings. So we'll continue to watch. Looks like the 11:15 tornado warning is still set to expire 11:15, and now the other one, the 11:30 one, set to expire still 11:30. Nothing that I've been seeing on the past several scans is telling me that these are going to get extended anymore, which is great. Hopefully, we'll continue to see these get a little weaker with each progressive scan, and maybe that means by 11:30, we're done talking about tornado warnings. Now we're just talking about severe thunderstorms. We are still concerned about some of the hail, man. Some of the pictures I saw this morning, and thank you, by the way, to everybody on Facebook that sent me those photos of some of the hailstones in and around Dothan, Alabama, and in and around Panama City. They were impressive. I mean, we're talking almost baseball-sized hail in some spots.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff right there. That's definitely stuff that I wouldn't want to see. Good news, this is our hail tracker. Not really seeing much hail pop up anymore. Looks like we had a little bit down in Wakulla once that passed on through to the west of Crawfordville. I haven't seen much else pop up. That's a pretty good indicator that this thing might be losing a little bit of steam.
Lose a little juice. And the more that happens, the better off everyone's going to be. So we're coming up on 11:13. It's almost 11:14 now. Hopefully we'll see the first of these remaining 2 tornado warnings expire. Once those do, now we'll hope to 11:30 that the last one expires. And then we'll continue to bring you some updates, but maybe by then we can give you a break from our voices for a little while, because I'm sure we're saying the same thing, and we apologize for that. But thank you so much for staying with us. Everybody that is, whether it's on TV, whether it's online, wherever you're watching us or listening to us, we do appreciate you staying with us. We hope we're giving you the information that you're looking for. That severe thunderstorm warning extends a little bit more now into parts of Brooks and Lowndes County up towards Clinch. It's not quite into Eccles yet. I'd be surprised if it doesn't get extended there. So yeah, that from the 11:30s now to 12:45, and we'll see. We're likely going to see that severe thunderstorm warning get extended into Madison, into Lafayette, Suwannee, Taylor. It's going to keep getting extended as this line moves.
Right. Yeah. You've got these yellow boxes. That's your severe thunderstorm warning. So Valdosta, Lowndes, all the way up through Lanier. You're in that now. I know eastern reaches of the Big Bend, spots like Madison, Perry. Does that mean that that you're not going to see the severe thunderstorms? No. All right, there's a very good chance that this warning here does get extended a little bit further off towards the east. Other than that, still got our 2 tornado warnings. That, of course, one is set to expire here.
As you're speaking, they just popped in the continuation of the severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Taylor and parts of Madison County. And that's going to continue happening. And now we're coming up on 11:15 any minute now, so hopefully we'll see one of those red polygons go away, and maybe in the next little while we'll start to see the other one go away.
There you go.
That first one's gone.
Just as you said it.
Okay, there we go. So things are working the way we want to see it. I know it's still mean, nasty, and scary outside. We totally understand the apprehension and the fact that it is frightening out there with some of these really strong winds. And when you hear the wind to go with the rain, that makes it seem worse than it is. And that wind has been kicking all day, and that's been one of our big concerns. And that's why all these severe thunderstorm warnings are popping in, because of those winds that could gust up over 70 miles per hour.
Right, and we have seen that. We're still watching, and of course, once we get past all those, we can look back at the storm reports and figure out exactly what we saw where. But once again, good news right now. Remember, we had that tornado warning, especially if you were in Tallahassee, you heard all your phones go off. That original one that we had is now expired. We still have this one here that we're watching. It's still big and bad, but there's no observed tornado on the ground, and there's not a whole lot of rotation telling us that the winds are wrapping around each other, which is also good news.
Yeah, it's promising stuff, and it does look like that maybe in the next little while.
You can take us full screen for a second.
I still see a little too much blue on there for my liking.
Right.
I'd like to see that toned down just a little bit, because what that tells me is that there's still really strong and gusty winds, at least moving in one direction, and I still see some of that red right behind it. So, yeah, there's probably still a little bit of oomph right just east of Woodville right now, in far southeastern Leon County, trying to get to the Jefferson County line, well south of I-10. So that's the area, maybe like south of Wassissa. That's where it feels like that's the spot right now, where if there is some rotation, that's where it's headed. So if you are in that area, that's going to be the spot where you're going to want to make sure that you're away from windows and doors. What's that? That's State Road 59, I think, over there?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you're over there, now you're going to want to make sure you're indoors, away from windows, away from exterior doors, away from exterior walls, and give it 10 or 15 minutes. And hopefully this will continue to fizzle and move away from where you are. That also means areas along I-10, along Highway 19, Highway 98, get over towards like Lamont, and some areas over there heading over towards the Jefferson-Madison County line. Yeah, those are going to be some areas where this is moving towards where you are. I do see maybe a little bit less happening for more of Gadsden County and more of Liberty County. So great news in some of the areas that were hit harder a little while ago.
I think we do have another live camera that we want to bring to you. This one is going to be at Madison County.
Someplace where it's not raining yet.
Right. You see the clouds. They're moving fast.
They really are. Trucking across the screen there.
That's because those winds moving those clouds out of the south. But once again, Madison County, you still got a little bit of time left to go. About another hour or so until you really start to see the bad stuff. So once again, if you got to bring a couple things inside, make sure everyone's good to go.
Hopefully they're already before today.
Yeah, family, friends, know what's on the way. That's what we're looking at there in Madison County. But once again, the bad stuff, not quite there yet. Where is it right now? It's going to be in spots like Thomasville, all the way down to that Leon-Jefferson County line. Spots, let's say, like Lloyd, and down further off towards the south, passing on through Woodville now. That's where that worst of it is. And of course, it's continuing to march across Wakulla County. Crawfordville, things starting to lighten up for you there. That's some good news. That risk for severe weather is going to slowly start to diminish for you. Similar story for a lot of Tallahassee, unless you're on that east side, especially east of Cap Circle, northeast, still dealing with a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah, and if you take a look, like Highway 19 between Thomasville and Monticello, that's going to be prime time, I think, for the next 15, 20 minutes, where the biggest and the baddest of the rain will be coming. Hopefully it's just rain and wind and nothing that rotates over there, but that's where it's headed to. From Bainbridge to Cairo, we're still pretty wet. Still moderate rains coming down on Highway 84, but nowhere near like it was a little while ago. That goes for Quincy also. So some of the cities that saw some of the more significant rain and some of the real scary stuff, a little less scary, a little less significant, but not any drier just yet. I think as we move into Jefferson County, we move into more eastern parts of Thomas County, that's where the biggest of the weather is going to be. You know, Thomasville had to wait a little longer than everybody else to get this rain where they are, but in Thomasville, things are certainly coming down pretty good right now. So that's another place, even if there are no warnings where you are,
right,
it's not a time to be messing around with outdoor stuff, or it's okay to get to the inside of your house and to those safe places even now, even if there's no tornado warnings where you are.
Right, yeah, and if you're there, you know exactly what we're talking about. In spots as you head a little bit further further off towards the east, like Quitman, as we head a little bit closer into Brooks County and down into Monticello, you're going to be up next for all this stuff. But once again, I'd say maybe about an hour or two ago, there was tornado warnings popping up all over the place very quickly. Things certainly slowing down a little bit right now.
Yeah.
We've got that one active tornado warning, and that one is still going to be for portions of Wakulla over through southeastern reaches of Leon, and now pretty much I'm moving on into Jefferson
More
County.
in Jefferson, yeah.
Yeah, and I can show you the winds here so you can get an idea of how things are moving. And where you see those reds and greens kind of touching and interacting.
Yeah, there's still a little too much. Just east of Woodville there for my liking.
Yeah, right? Yeah. In that corner of Leon. And we'll take us full screen so you can get a big picture of this. And especially as Rob was mentioning, where you see those really bright blues, those are some real gusty winds. That's going to bring down a bunch of tree limbs and a lot of debris. It's going to cause some power outages there in Jefferson County.
And well south of Chairs. That's going to be one of the spots right now that looks like those winds are maybe a little too close for my liking. And boy, there are some pretty strong gusty winds there. So that's probably the reason for the continuation of this warning, at least for another 10 minutes or so. Hopefully by 11:30, it'll continue to fizzle on out. It is moving right towards Wassissa, by the way. So if you are in the Wassissa area, that's, again, back near State Road 59 or maybe State Road 259, depending on which way you are, south of Wassissa or west of Wassissa. Those are going to be the spots where you're going to want to make sure you're taking your shelter, you're finding your safe place, you're getting away from the exterior windows, doors, and all that stuff, and that way you stay safe, because that is a dangerous situation right now.
Yeah, we're really watching that one, and you could just see that red box just changed, all right? The western half of it got shaved off, so Woodville, you're not in that tornado warning anymore, so yeah, you don't need to worry about that one. As Rob was mentioning, we're worried a little bit more as this thing starts to make its way into western reaches of Jefferson County. I know we wanted to take a quick shot outside once again just so we can see what's going on. I believe this one is at Shell Point.
Oh, Shell Point for sure, yeah, look at that.
Obviously, very windy out there. Closer you are to the coast, generally, the more windy it's going to get right off the water, and the rain has really come down there.
And encouraging, I don't see a ton of water way up the beach.
Right.
So that's actually good news. As a matter of fact, I haven't even looked yet at how close we are to which tide.
Yeah, as Rob's checking those tide times, we pick up this cam very often. I especially do on the weekend mornings, and don't see that water risen up too high. That's very promising, but like I said, well, definitely not a good beach day out there, I can tell you that. These is pretty much the worst of that line as it's starting to make its way out of Shell Point at this point. You're in the worst of it there.
High tide will be just after midnight down that way, or real close to it. So we just had low tide. So that actually, the timing worked out real well if we were at low tides when we're having the strongest of the winds.
Got to have a little bit of luck on our side.
Right, got to have a little something working in our favor. So that's actually great news for a lot of residents down near the coast. I'm sure everyone's boats in the docks down that way are bouncing around really seriously. Hopefully everything got battened down and there's no real damage down that way. Of course, at some point when things quiet down out there, we'll send the news crew out to find out what's going on in all these locations.
Right.
I mean, that's what they're waiting for, is for it to be a little bit more safe outside. And we'll be able to gather up some video for you so you can see what it's like and what the aftermath is. I know all the crews that have to go out there from the power companies and from the city and from the counties and all that place.
They're on standby.
They're waiting for things to be safe for them to get out there too, to get everything back for us. So it's a really good idea, even after the rain passes where you are, just to keep it inside, let those crews and those emergency service vehicles go out there and do their work and not have to worry about helping anybody else that maybe gets stranded out there on, it only takes that much water for a car to start going the wrong way, to hydroplane to lose control. And sometimes it's better just to let it wait for another.
Yeah, I was leaving this morning at 6, 7 a.m. before any of the rain got here, any of the bad stuff, but it's just been windy for so long.
So windy.
A lot of power has already been knocked out even before this main line gets there. It's just going to make things even a little bit worse out there. So like we said earlier, today, not the day to head out there. Tomorrow, things a little bit better.
You know how many trees we have. You know how many canopy roads we have. You know how in every time the wind blows, how many limbs and how many branches come down. So there's going to be all debris in all kinds of locations. Leon County was saying yesterday, they were talking about they wanted people to prepare like it could be a possible, like a hurricane, right? You want to have a disaster kit, you want to have a plan, and it's not a hurricane. It's absolutely not a hurricane, but you can still have debris that maybe we get used to after a tropical system that's strewn all over the roads out there, especially, you know, places like I'll say Meridian, because Meridian is one of those canopy roads, or Centerville, right, where you have those trees that hang over, and of course that could cause some problems, make it difficult to drive through. Get a lot of old trees in a lot of towns, a lot of beautiful old trees all over the place up into South Georgia, where some of those might meet some ends with some of this wind, and that's going to cause difficult driving situations. So if you can, let it happen, let the crews get out there and do their work, and then you go back to your regular life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let's go ahead and let's get another check. We'll take the full screen picture. We'll check back in on our current tornado warning. Once again, this current one set to expire at 11:30.
Yeah, so 5 or 6 minutes from now.
Yeah, doesn't mean that they might extend it, all right? If you're in spots like Monticello, yeah, we're watching, all right? We're watching and we're waiting if they do decide to extend this. If we see some of that rotation continue to pick up and move a little bit further towards the north, then yeah, that'd be your time to watch it. But for now, we're a little bit right on that Jefferson-Leon County edge where we're seeing the worst of those winds, potentially trying to wrap around each other.
Yeah, right near State Road 259. Still looks like there's a little too much red next to a little too much green for my my liking. I'd like to see the reds calm down a little bit, or really the greens calm down, because that's where the strongest inbound winds are coming right now.
Right, remember those winds that are green are moving towards the radar site at the Tallahassee airport. The winds that are in red, they're the ones that are moving away from the airport. And the brighter the colors get, the stronger those winds are. And once again, that's the only active tornado warning that we have on the board right now. So things have gotten a little bit slower out there.
That's good. And we want slower.
Yeah, we're about halfway through our entire area, so we got another half left to go. And speaking of, we can go back and we can check in on our current radar picture.
And you can certainly see that, you know, you get out there west of Quincy, you get west of Bainbridge, and the rain's pretty much done. I see some showers way out there to the west. A lot of that's going to get fizzled up. But we're still watching that impressive batch of reds and oranges from near Moultrie through near Thomasville and working its way into parts of Jefferson County now. That's where the more significant rains are. That's the edge, that energy. That's that squall line where the bigger chances for the worst of the weather will be. And as that moves east at about 45 miles per hour, that means places like Brooks County, like Quitman, places like Madison County, places like Taylor County, around Perry, we're going to find those bigger storms coming to where we are soon.
Right, and you spoke about Jefferson County, Monticello, about to get the worst of it here. I do think we have a live view outside the Jefferson County Courthouse in Monticello, so let's go ahead and check out that view. It looks like the rain isn't quite there yet, at least the heavy stuff. Right. We could see that on radar. But I'll tell you what, I see a big batch of lightning and really heavy rain heading your way here, probably within the next 20 minutes or so. So if you're there in Jefferson County, especially there, Monticello proper, be ready. The worst of that storm is headed your way.
All right, so 11:27. So we got about 3 minutes of this current warning. Hopefully they let it lapse. We'll see if they have to extend or not. The severe thunderstorm warning is going to continue, and that's going to go, depending on how far east you are, all the way past lunchtime. So that's what we're contending with. Now remember, the severe thunderstorm warning is very different than a tornado warning. When we're talking about tornado warning, that means either the radar has picked it up or someone has seen an actual rotation, an actual tornado. When you're talking about a severe thunderstorm, you're looking at strong wind gusts, you're looking at possible hail, you're looking at frequent lightning, something like that, and that's why that warning is triggered. Now, that warning area is still pretty large. It's starting to pare down through parts of Wakulla County, as done in Gadsden County. Parts of western Leon County are finished with it. Much of Grady County and Decatur County finished, but for Thomas, for eastern Leon, for Jefferson, and points east, that is probably going to continue marching in that direction. So those strong wind gusts, that hail, the frequent lightning, the heavy rain, all a real possibility for the next couple of hours still.
Right, and I'll put this back into motion. And like I said, this line has calmed down a little bit compared to what it was about an hour or two ago. We haven't seen any fresh tornado warnings pop up as frequently. Right. But what is this still producing? Lots of gusty winds, lots of heavy downpours, and a whole lot of lightning as well. Definitely not the time to be outdoors if we are still out ahead of this main line. As you can see here, we're putting it into motion. It's tracking from the west towards the east. One thing we did talk about is we're looking down off the coast, down in the bay. All right, what do we see here? There's some really big, nasty storms. These are some ones that are going to make their way across the bay and eventually down into Taylor County. So those are going to be ones that we're keeping a very close eye on for our friends there along that Taylor County coastline and heading into Perry too.
And, you know, we're talking rainfall. I haven't checked rainfall rates in a while to see how much rain has fallen in some spots.
Oh, yeah, we can certainly do that.
But we
real
can
quick.
take a look at that and see. I bet there are some spots that piled up an inch or more of rain in just the last few hours. And, of course, that could aggravate flooding, considering all the rain that we've had on the past several weeks and weekends. And I know that's not making anyone thrilled. But so some of the rivers are going to be close to flood stage, and it doesn't take much to aggravate some of those flood areas. So, yeah, we're taking a look at some of the rainfall just the last 12 hours. Okay, we're seeing some spots in the western parts that are more than 1.5 inches or up near 2 inches worth of rain for sure. So, yeah, that's quite the soaking that's come down. Oh, here we got the picture from some video from the lighthouse right now. So we've got a weather sim camera that's down that way. Let's take a look at that. You can see the rain coming down. You see the wind blowing for sure. You know, I haven't seen as much lightning now as maybe I thought we'd see. So that's also maybe an indicator of some better news. If the lightning is calming down just a little tiny bit. Lots of wind, lots of rain for sure. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon in a lot of areas. However, I think part of the story is we're going to continue dealing with the wind and the rain as this whole line moves to the east. And now we're up at 11:30. Has they let that fall away?
Yeah, we've got good news. We can bring us back to our current radar picture. Okay. That tornado warning that we had for Leon, Jefferson County, that's done.
Okay.
That has expired. So really good news there, at least for the threat of any tornadoes. Is this thing still big and bad? Absolutely. You can actually see, Rob mentioned, if you want to pull it back out to me real quick so I can show you how it's taking that bow segment a little bit. See how it's moving right there? It kind of looks like the bow and an arrow. That's when those winds really start to get gusty. So we could see this line turn into more of a severe weather, severe wind threat, rather seeing these pop-up tornadoes. Are they still possible? Absolutely. We've got that tornado watch that's in place until 2 p.m. for the entirety of southwest Georgia and the Big Bend. So we're really watching that, but for now, things do look promising in terms of that tornadic threat, but still those winds are going to be a big problem.
All right, so the tornado warnings are expired for now. That doesn't mean we can't find more that develop. We still have that severe thunderstorm warning, and we're going to certainly keep our eyes on that. But at this point, we've been on here rambling for an hour and a half.
That's about right.
Maybe it's time that we send it back to regular programming so you guys get a break from us. We can reset things. We are scheduled to do a regular newscast at noon. Hopefully, the weather will cooperate with that, and we'll be able to have plenty of stuff for the regular newscast at noon. You go back and do more Facebook stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll get ready for that noon show, and we'll talk about the weather then, and hopefully it's much more tranquil stuff by then.
Exactly, and don't worry, if any tornado warnings pop up before the noon show, it will be here before you even see it. All right, don't worry, but for now, go ahead.
Thanks for staying with us, guys.